So, there's a philosophical debate that we can have that is brought up by this thought process, and what I wanted to do was dive into some comments made by players on the Detroit Red Wings that may or may not have inadvertently, if not absolutely directly, called out Steve Yzerman, the general manager. Yeah. Run-on sentences be damned. Today we're going over some commentary on the season from Dylan Larkin and Patrick Kane. Because some of these thoughts that were shared by these players could be somewhat critical of the way Steve Yzerman did his job as Detroit Red Wings GM this year. Now, to help us out, we're going to head over to a post made on RedWingsInsider.com by Sam Walker. The reason we're using this article is because the piece transcribes the quotes from multiple Detroit Red Wings forwards voicing their displeasure on Steve Yzerman's disappointing trade deadline. It allows us to screenshot it, put it on the screen, and we can dive into a discussion about it afterwards. So, let's go out there and read what the article says. Despite the injuries suffered right before the halfway point of the season, Steve Yzerman opted to only complete one trade at the trade deadline, acquiring familiar face and goalie Peter Mrazek and veteran winger Craig Smith from the Chicago Blackhawks. At this year's season exit interviews, Red Wings players, including Captain Dylan Larkin, voiced displeasure at the lack of support they received throughout their rough stretch of injuries at a crucial point in the season. "It was hard that we didn't do anything," Larkin said, "and then I felt the group we didn't gain any momentum from the trade deadline, and guys were kind of down about it. It'd be nice to add something and bring a little bit of a spark on the ice, and maybe a morale boost as well." The article talks about how the Wings were on a 4-game losing streak right before the deadline, and then it dives into these comments made by Patrick Kane. "Hopefully over the summer you see some things that make our team better, and you add that with players returning from injury, and it should be soon that the Red Wings make the playoffs." And so with that in mind, I wanted to just bring up the philosophical debate as to whether or not these comments are worthy of being mentioned and if they're actually correct. Because essentially, the soul of these comments made by both Larkin and Kane is, "Hey, Stevie Y, why did you not add anybody at the trade deadline? We were right in the thick of it. We were in the playoff hunt. Sure, we lost 4 games in a row, but we were down and out. We needed extra support. Why did you not go out there and add guys to help us make the playoffs? Peter Mrazek, okay, whatever. He's a goalie. There are a bunch of goalies already on the Red Wings. Craig Smith, yeah, sorry, but he's not really the spark that a team like Detroit could benefit from all too much." But I do think that it's worth bringing up as to whether or not the Red Wings were in a position to make a trade, to get a guy, to acquire an upgrade on their roster. We had spoken about this yesterday, but it seemed like the Wings were very much involved in the Dylan Cousins sweepstakes with the Buffalo Sabres. But instead of pulling the trigger and giving Buffalo what they wanted, they said no because the Buffalo Sabres wanted Marco Kasper in return in that trade. The Red Wings were ultimately fine in not making that transaction go through, but it kind of gets you wondering, okay, what else was out there? What other names were the Wings interested in, and would there have been an appropriate trade that we could have seen get done that would have added an impact player to the Red Wings? This isn't the only team as well that I'm thinking about that was a middling team, in the thick of it, kind of in, kind of not, that was standing pat at the trade deadline. At the very least, the Red Wings made a trade for Peter Mrazek. My Vancouver Canucks didn't do anything, despite all the cap space they had accrued. So, for the Red Wings, it seems like they were in that unfortunate territory where it was like, okay, we're not good enough to go fully all in, but we're not bad enough to sell. So, the best we could do is Joe Veleno for Peter Mrazek and Craig Smith. Sorry. But it's illuminating now to know that Dylan Larkin and Patrick Kane were both like, yeah, it would have been nice to have some extra support. It would have been nice to get that extra bump. Another guy to help us out. And my question to you here is, was this as big of a fault as some of these comments might make it seem? You could also say emotions play a part into it too. Maybe Dylan Larkin is just super frustrated with not making the playoffs this year and expressed that in his season exit interview. yeah, we should have gotten some extra guys, man, then we could have made the playoffs. Kind of an internal feeling there, if you wanted to label it out. Obviously, he's not going to say it like that, but part of me wonders if this really is more of the mindset here. If Larkin's just so frustrated after being a wing for so long, he started playing with Detroit in 2015, and they've only made the playoffs once, and that was his rookie year. They didn't even go far in that year. So ultimately, if this guy is getting to a point now where it's been a decade, no playoffs, the team still stinks, they're finding ways to lose after having such big momentum swings earlier in the year, it's like, hey, Stevie Y, you had a winning formula. We were winning games like crazy when Todd McLellan came here. Why are you not capitalizing on that? These players are competitive, and the fact that Stevie Y has already started to get more flack this year, I think that narrative is just going to keep on growing with more comments made like these. Hey, Stevie Y had an unimpressive offseason. Hey, Stevie Y is getting all these older, middle-aged, not too effective guys. Hey, Stevie Y is spending money on guys like Kopp and Comfer and Hall and Ben Sherrod and Jeff Petrie. Is this the right way to build your hockey team? Detroit's already gotten overtaken in the rebuild by some of the other squads like Montreal and Ottawa, for example. So now, seeing that the Wings were in a spot to potentially contend for that wild card, they were in the thick of it. They did fumble a little bit heading into the deadline, but no support came after. My question to you is, was it the right move? Considering Larkin and Kane's comments here, do you think it was a better decision to stay the course, not trade away any young guys? You think, oh yeah, we already have so many prospects. We've got like 3 good goalie guys to pay attention to. Trey Augustine, Rudy Guimond is there, Sebastian Cossa. Why not flip one of these guys to get a nice roster player in the now? Is that not an appropriate way of thinking? I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Did Stevie Y make a big mistake here? And do you think these comments made by Larkin and Kane calling out Stevie Y for not adding anybody are valid? Furthermore, who is it that you think the Red Wings should have targeted? That's another question that I think we should dive into. Dylan Cozens was a name that I think some Wings fans were on board with, others were not so much. It was a very divisive name. But hearing yesterday that, yeah, it was Marco Kasper, that was the Buffalo Sabres ask, yeah, that just kind of turned all Red Wings fans' heads away from Dylan Cozens. And besides, he already got traded for Josh Norris, so it's a little bit different there. But anybody else comes to mind here as a potential Red Wings acquisition that could have made sense? You can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. This article on Wings Insider is also going to be linked in the description if you want to read more about it. There are some extra things in there, but I didn't want to dive into all of that. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about Detroit and whether or not Stevie Y made a mistake here, whether or not you think Larkin and Kane are justified in calling him out. I hope you enjoyed this British Irish Roll 9, and bye.